By now, I assume that everyone's heard about the terrible tragedies that took place in Paris. And it's kind of impossible to hear about that and not make the correlation and come back to 9/11. And I remember that and how devastated we were and how hurt we all were and how the need for retaliation was palpable. So we invaded Afghanistan, a country it turns out at the time didn't really have anything to do with it. But that wasn't important at the time. We had a lot of raw nerves and hurt feelings, and there needed to be a place for that to go. So we go to war with Afghanistan, and then we go to war in Iraq. And after 10 years of war, nothing's changed. It's not better. Saddam Hussein is dead. But that really didn't make things better. As a matter of fact, that made things worse. Osama bin Laden is dead, and it seemed that that should have made things better, but then ISIS is born from there. So it's like cutting off the head of the Hydra. You cut off a head, and two more grow in its place. All that's really been accomplished that I can really put my finger on is a lot of money has been spent and a lot of lives have been lost on both sides. This does not seem like a war that can be won. We don't have attainable goals. If the goal of the Muslim extremist terrorists is to rid the world of infidels, that's just not attainable. It's not possible. They don't have the resources for that. They don't have the manpower. They're not going to rid the world of infidels by suicide bombing them 150 people at a time. If our goal is to rid the world of terrorists, that's not attainable either. We can't bomb them into democracy, and they're not a real army by which that we can find. We can hear they're in Syria, and we can bomb and kill a few people, but it's just not an attainable goal. We have to, at this point, to agree to disagree. You don't like us, we don't care that much for you. We have different belief systems and so on and so forth. And I don't want to get mired into a religious debate, because that hasn't helped. Because that debate has been had and had to death. Okay? There's been war in the Middle East for 1,000 years. We aren't going to come in there and give them a new policy and everyone's going to change. That's not going to happen. We keep throwing money and human lives at a problem that can't be fixed with throwing money and human lives at it. People who have nothing to do with the conflict on either side keep dying. And even if our goals were attainable, they are not worth the lives that we spent to attain them. I understand there are soldiers that are willing to sacrifice their lives, but it's a pointless sacrifice. And for the innocent civilians, a pointless sacrifice. So that we can one day, that's not going to happen in our lifetime. It's just not going to. Now, I don't have the perfect solution. I'm not that bright. I have an idea. It's not a new idea. It's not all that radical. How about we leave the Middle East to the Middle East? We leave the desert problems to desert folk. All the westernized countries, Western civilized countries, America, Canada, England, France, let's get out of there. There's oil there, but you know what? Turns out there's oil in Canada too, and there's oil in Russia. There's oil in a lot of places. Let's evacuate the Middle East and leave it to its own design. There isn't anything there that we need, that we can't get somewhere else. And I understand the region will be destabilized. People will die. But that's always been the case, and our presence there hasn't changed that. So maybe this is one of those problems we just back away from and let them handle it. If their ultimate goal is they want to rid the world of infidels, but they'll settle for us just getting out of their backyard, I vote for let's get out of their backyard. It's not that nice. It's really not. It's much nicer here It's much nicer in Paris. It's wonderful in Canada. It's much nicer everywhere else than it is there. We don't have to be there. And we can't fix their problem. They can't change us. We can't change them. All we've got is the Hatfield and McCoys. We've got an idea about a fight that started a long time ago, which we're right and they're wrong, or they're right and we're wrong. That's semantics. It just doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. Too many people have died. Too many children, too many women, too many brave soldiers. It's just not worth it anymore. Let's get out. Let's just get out. I'm sure there's going to be some retaliation, but when that's done, when that's calmed down, and when they're on the other side of those feelings, let's leave that place behind. If they want to stay mired in 7th century religious dogma, fine, fine, great, have at it. That's cool. We'll just move on without them. Let them be as they are, okay? There's plenty of tribes in the Brazilian waiting for us that we don't think need iPhones and iPads. We are okay with letting them be who they are. Then let the people in the desert be who they are. We don't have to intervene anymore. It just shouldn't be our problem anymore. It's not. It really doesn't need to be America's job to fix those problems, and especially since they didn't ask us to. Let them take care of themselves and let us do something else. It's just a thought. It may not be the best thought, and my emotions may still be a little raw. But what we've already done hasn't worked, so I'm voting on trying something else.